This is Luis Souza from rawveganpower.com, and I have here today a very charming guest. It's Katya Arbsoff from rawjuvenate.com.au, but this is her old blog. She has some news for us today. Welcome, Katya. It's so nice to have you here. I'm very excited.
Welcome. Thank you, Louis. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be here. From Australia?
Yeah, and I'm Brazil, and we have 11 hours of time zone difference. It's so cool to be speaking here as being in the same room, isn't it?
Ah, yes. Well, it's about 10:30 here at night, and early there in the morning.
And here it's 9:30, you see. Well, Katya, you have an amazing story, and you are surely a pioneer of the raw vegan movement. I'm very excited to talk to you about because of that, because you were from the beginning, and could you share your story here with us? Sharing how did you get to be raw vegan and some of your experience with it, please.
Sure. Well, we'll start way back. I guess, since I was a child, I've always been drawn to study nature and investigate nature. And as I got into my teenage years, which was in the early 70s, to investigate different cultures and ways of living and longevity, and what type of eating regime or health regime delivered the best health and well-being. So I would study all these cultures, and then of course around that time there was only Paavo Arola and Arnold Ehrenreich and Wigmore, of course, and I had a copy of Survival into the 21st Century in about 1974, which was extremely radical then. But something resonated with me when I read it, and I knew that it was truth. There was a lot of truth in that. And so, it's always been a journey of self-experimentation for me. And I guess having, teenage acne and that sort of thing, that was also a driving force to, try different foods out and in the quest for beautiful, clear skin. So, lots of fruit, lots of vegetables, and I've always had an attraction for fruit. It's always been part of my diet. So that's how I sort of went along, and of course I was called into the the beauty industry and the health industry as well, and modeled when I was younger. So I guess, yes. And with more, I guess it went on from there. I started to do a lot of wheatgrass juicing and grow it myself, and I was fascinated with the whole concept of wheatgrass. Again, I was sort of just an absolute crackpot, and in those days, in the 1970s, you were a health food nut if you ate anything, other than the standard diet. If you ate just nuts or nut meat or whatever, there wasn't much available. But anyway. So yeah, and then I guess I had a few health issues that I used to go on some dietary sort of regimes of 10 days of different fasting regimes, or days of just vegetables or just juices, and I'd monitor the results and just see how I'd feel, and I'd always feel better, and my things would get better. So I guess it was just a calling for me, and it's something that just developed. And of course, then I went vegetarian, and I obviously through that time too, I tried various diets that were around at the time, including the the Atkins and the blood type diet, all in the quest to see whether it worked and what it would do for you. Right. And of course, I figured a lot of these diets work because for a short term, because they took out a lot of the processed foods and that were undermining people's health anyway. So, and then I was drawn more to vegetarianism and vegan, and it sort of went on from there. And it was just a calling, I guess. In 1998, I really felt strongly to I guess, eat periods of raw food and investigate how I would feel over so 2 weeks, go back to eating some cooked food, see how I felt. And it was sort of, this went back and forwards for a little while. And, you know, it got to the point where I just didn't like going back and eating cooked food because various vague symptoms would come back, and I was just starting to go through a lot of midlife changes too, you know, and arthritis and things were starting to happen around my joints, which I often put down to, you know, some of the body work I used to do. But of course this was accumulation of acids, and when I saw that they actually, you know, I started to get a lot more flexibility and ease back in my joints when I cut out a lot of the stimulants, because that has been another thing in my life. I've had an addiction, I guess, to stimulants, and I wrote about this in my first book, because I do think that a lot of us have low dopamine levels. That is something that some people have genetically in families too, but again, these things can be overlooked. But that was also part of my quest too, of finding some foods that would give me that high, I guess, and feeling of elation and just well-being, you know, without the side effects, you know, of the crash down.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, so, you know, and I was actually a smoker going back years and years ago. I mean, I remember I studied homeopathy and naturopathy, and, you know, in the 70s or 80s, people were doing that sort of thing. You know, I guess people were drawn to those fields because they were also helping themselves in the process. Yeah, that's basically how I sort of started on. I started doing the raw food thing in a bigger way in 2000, and then, you know, I came up to Queensland to live, and moving up to Queensland, it's a subtropical climate, and I was more easily able to access tropical fruits. So there'll be days where I just eat mangoes, or and I was just in fruit heaven. I just loved it. And then an opportunity arose for me to work at Hippocrates, the health centre that was in Mudgeeraba. It's no longer operational. The couple that were running it have now retired. But so I did some colonic irrigation and as a colonic therapist, and I also lectured there. But I got to see or a confirmation of people arriving who were, you know, a lot of corporate type of people, I guess, who were just burnt out and worn out, and they'd arrive, and 7 days later, after, you know, 3 days of fasting on watermelon juice and just then raw foods after that, and wheatgrass shots every day, and colonics and so forth, they were just different people, and I saw the most incredible transformations take place. People would reverse all sorts of illnesses, and not only that, look 10 or more years younger, and they'd be just jumping out of their skin after, you know, several days. So that inspired me to take that further. That was something that I wanted to do, was to have retreats where I could help people. So that sort of evolved, and then the opportunity came for me to open a cafe, and of course I was just so passionate about raw foods and what they could do then, and it was in its infancy here. I think Shazzy was just starting overseas, and she was just getting known, and so the opportunity arose for me to do that, and people thought I was absolutely crazy, and I'd go broke within 9 months, if that. If I didn't have any cooked food, and of course I was just adamant I didn't want to have or sell any cooked food or coffee, and I said, you've got to have coffee, you've got to sell coffee. No, I can't have it. Yeah, it turned out being basically an expensive education, a degree, if you like, in preparing gourmet raw food and selling it to the public. I closed my doors after 12 months, but it was an incredible learning experience, and from that experience it gave me the recipes to put into my first book, and also to write about my experiences. So I look back and I think, you know, I was definitely way ahead of my time. You know, how long now is it since? Well, 13, 14 years now, there's raw food restaurants opening everywhere, and young people. In fact, many of the people I've taught over the years, once I closed those doors, I went on to run retreats and programs which were quite successful, and many of those people now have gone on to, you know, to explore and you know, and get their own businesses in raw foods in some way, whether they're importing or, you know, superfoods or going into chefing or whatever it might be. So, you know, that's good to see. But I just love the fact that there's so many young people now that are just so switched on and so passionate, and course, when I was doing it, it was just a struggle trying to convince people. They thought I was just crazy, you know. So things have changed. And, you know, the funny part is Viktoras Kulvinskas said in his book, Survival in the 21st Century, he could foresee the day when wheatgrass taverns or bars, he called them, would be in every suburb and in every street. In actual fact, that did occur some 20 years later, and there was a period some 5 years back when wheatgrass was all the rage. You might remember, Louis, I don't know if that was the case in Brazil, but you know, a lot of juice bars started having wheatgrass and wheatgrass shots. It's not as popular now as it was then, but you know, so his
I
prophecy
think
did come
here
true.
it's not popular even now, you know.
That's true.
In
But
Brazil, in
there's more the
Brazil.
powdered
No,
ones.
I mean in Brazil. I mean, maybe,
Ah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, he was very, you know, he was a forward-thinking man, and he could see what was going to happen. But, you know,
But
it's just an amazing time we're in.
things usually happen before in the US, in Australia, in England, and Europe, and then they come to Brazil. And then it's nice, it's easy to understand that we don't have it yet.
Ah, of course. And I'll just go on now. Then from my story, and through also having the raw food, I had 38 years in background in natural health and healing. So a lot of my work was, I did open a flower essence school in Tasmania, and a lot of my work was with the emotional side of healing as well, which is important, and because we are multifaceted beings. So that now is coming into that.
Actually, the emotional part of the healing is sometimes even more important. Am I wrong
This
to
is the
say that?
truth. No, this is the truth. In fact, this will be the next evolutionary leap, which is what I want to be at the forefront of. I mean, I've always been the pioneer in something. I'm going to forefront as well, because it is an area where, you know, people don't really want to go into that. But it's been very convenient to blame something outside of ourselves for whatever's happening. You know, I caught this, or some misfortune came upon me, or I hurt my back doing such and such. When in actual fact, you know, they're jealous of the person they work with, or they really can't
Right.
stand their mother-in-law, but they don't want to admit to these type of feelings. But the point is, our cells listen to everything that gets played out in our mind. I'm not just saying that random cells, thoughts. These thoughts need to be repetitious. They're usually thoughts that occur on a regular basis, and they're the things that create a groove, if you like, into our mind and the cells. I mean, this has been proved by science, and this is what I think I wrote in one of the blogs, that, you know, many years ago, they hooked people up to electrodes and monitored their cells' response to feelings of love and then feelings to hate. And, of course, taking that further with, you know, with water and all the research that was done with that, and how, you know, water actually holds the thought patterns too as a vibratory pattern. And I did this with oranges too, where we had 2 oranges in one of the retreats, and we placed them not far distance from each other in the kitchen, and one of the oranges received lots of love and tender sort of
Oh,
thoughts and praise every day, and the other one just got a barrage of assault and you know, and after 2 weeks you could see the difference. The one that was given praise and love and upliftment, the skin looked plumper and it was shining, and the other one that was, you know, we told it how much, you know, we couldn't stand it and how, you know, it was hopeless and so on, just barrage of just criticism and hatred, really. In response to that, it started to shrink, and the skin got a lot of brown spots on it. So, you know, this happens. This is true. We see this with plants too. But anyway, taking it further, our cells do listen to what we say. They respond to it, and thoughts of love and kindness and compassion, they enliven ourselves. Thoughts against ourselves and others weaken ourselves, and we're seeing that now. When I say we're seeing it, we're sort of looking to this unexplored area, if you like, where we can take full responsibility for what we're thinking and changing that. And I think it's quite empowering, actually, because people then have the awareness of what they're thinking on a regular basis, and they can step into their minds and make some changes.
fantastic.
That's a great area.
Well, you just launched, I think some months ago, the Raw Rejuvenate for Life Principles book. And I'd love to hear something about those principles. If you could share something
Okay.
with us.
All right. Well, I have written 2 books, Louis. The first one was in 2004, and it was
Mm-hmm.
mainly about my journey into raw foods. And
Rejuvenate with Katya, right?
yes, Rejuvenate with Katya, and it had some wonderful, over 100 recipes that were seasonal, because I really felt that we needed to eat in season, we needed to eat locally, not eating watermelon imported from the US in the middle of winter, and which of course
Right.
food's available all year round now. So that fabulous book. Also, wild plants, I wrote a lot about that because I spent a lot of time in Tasmania in the mountains, using wild plants, and I just loved
Really,
it. So
this is so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. But this one is based on the retreats that I've run and the elements that go into that. And of course, it's not just about the food. As I said, it's about kindness, compassion, changing our attitudes. More importantly, I wanted to show people that as we age, we don't have to go down the same roads as this current generation, the generation before us, that've gone before us. We're at a time now where you can set new paradigms for aging. We can look at higher possibilities. We can go to university at 70. Why not start a new career? All these things that can be available to us. Of course, the thing that's held us back in the past has been our bodies have let us down. A lot of people say to me, I'd love to do such and such when I retire, but of course when that time comes around, they're struggling just to get out of a chair. So they'd love to go on a holiday. Well, it's very popular in Australia to go caravanning around Australia, or visiting places where they have to hike and things like that. And if your body can't take you there, then you can't do these things. So it's about self-care. It's about taking responsibility for us, putting ourselves first, which is something that, again, we haven't done in the past. We tend to put other people before ourselves, and we've seen now that the model that's been presented to us for health doesn't work. It sets us up for basically, looking forward to a miserable older years, and who wants to live like that? So medicated in particular, most people think it's just normal to be medicated when you're in your 50s. I mean, I'm in my late 50s, and it doesn't have to be that way. So that's very exciting. I wrote a lot about that, and I wrote about that we've got some fabulous role models coming out, and this is what we need. We've never had any great role models that people can aspire to and see, this is how we can age. We can look more youthful. We can actually have more energy.
I think you are the role model, right? I think you are becoming.
Well, we can, it's about passion, Louis. It's about that coming through. It's self-love. It's about, keeping our libido, everything functioning well. Again, it's smashing all those beliefs, those outdated beliefs that, that your sex life goes out the door, you're going to end up fat, you lose your waistline, all these beliefs that people have had passed down to them that they've got to question. This, does that apply to me? So when we've got people that we can see look fabulous now in their 60s and 70s, and it's not through surgery or anything, but it's just a result of how they're living.
By the way, Katya, may I ask how old you are?
Yeah, I'm 57. I'm 57.
You look, I would say 37 or even younger, because your skin looks great. You are glowing, and
well, that comes from within. I have to tell you.
And you are thin as well, because as you were saying, people are so used to those beliefs, and they believe also that older people get fatter, right? They believe that.
That's correct. That's correct. They think it's normal and natural to lose your waistline, lose your figure, and which makes it paints a picture of being sort of pretty well miserable.
And you are gorgeous. You look very young.
Well, I'm going to post some photos of me with, my stomach and my legs, because, really, I have got an amazing flat stomach, and I'm a mother. I've got children. I've got a child, daughter, and I don't work out. And I don't. I do a little bit of yoga, but we'll get to the diet side of things, because you know, I don't count calories, I don't count kilojoules and do all that sort of thing. But to be honest with you, you know, where we're at now in this point in our evolution, we have to come back to self-love. From self-love springs forth all the things that we desire in our lives. We've been seeking outside of ourselves all the time. Now, you know, self-love it's a feeling that we get to generate through our bodies, and this is the choice that I want to teach people I want to teach them how to reconnect with the messages their bodies are always sending them. And, you know, they've done quite a lot of surveys. The thing is, most people occupy their minds with thoughts most of the day that aren't pleasurable. And, you know, we have a choice. We can actually choose pleasurable thoughts. And it's training ourselves to do that. It takes discipline, but after a while, it becomes just second nature. These thoughts no longer pop into our mind that tend to sabotage us or hold us back. But of course, a lot of us have just let our minds run amok, and now it's time to, you know, put that part of ourselves to the back seat and take charge. Because really, no one else can do that for you. You're the captain of your own ship, and this is what I say in my book. We have to take self-responsibility. It's a great thing. It's very empowering. You get to the point where no one else can dictate to you what and how to eat, because no one else lives in your body. No one else knows what you feel on a regular day-to-day basis. Not your friends, not your family, not your doctor, nobody but you. And people don't realise that their body is their biggest ally. It's actually being equipped with the most incredible healing ability to repair and rejuvenate. And when I say in my book, it doesn't matter how old you are, it doesn't matter how long you've trashed yourself. I hear people say that to me. It's too late for me. I've trashed myself most of my life. Or I'm too old. I'm past it. But I said, you're still breathing. It doesn't matter what you've done. And believe me, I've done some pretty wild things to myself over the years when I was younger and not aware, of course, as I said, with the addictive side of myself. But even so, your body can still heal and repair that. And I've seen myself become younger. I've seen myself be free of arthritis that I had. My joints have become more flexible.
And by the way, you were just mentioned by Marcus Rothkranz in his newsletter about breast bump that you had, and you cured yourself, right?
Yes, and it's not through raw foods. Like I said, we're multifaceted beings. The time has come for us to realize that, you know, what we, like you said when we first started the interview, what passes through our mouth has more impact on ourselves. What passes through our mind has more impact on ourselves than what passes through our mouth. And we have to take that into consideration. But yeah, I've been traveling a raw vegan path now for nearly 14 years, coming up to 14 years. And, you know, it obviously gets better. But, you know, you need to make adjustments too when you become to midlife. And this is where being very in tune with your body. One thing that has occurred through this journey is I have a very close relationship with myself. I am aware of any changes. And I am aware of thinking and how it impacts on me. If I have any contraction in my body at all, I think, what was it that I just thought? What was it that I was feeling? What was it that's created disturbance there? And I investigate that. You know, that's an awareness. So having the knowledge I have over, because I studied homeopathy and vibrational medicine, it fascinated me because a lot of people, younger people now, probably aren't aware of the works of Louise Hay. Louise Hay has been around for many years and wrote You Can Heal Your Life in the 1980s. It was an amazing best-selling book because it, again, she healed a breast lump through doing the emotional work. And of course, you know, she had all this information channeled to her, if you like, of the relationship between our thinking and the parts of the body. She obviously wrote a book where every part of the body had a thought that corresponded vibrationally to that part of the body. So, in other words, the breasts and so forth, most people know that's about nurturing and so forth, but a lot of our relationship issues, what I did write in response to this Angelina Jolie, I guess,
I'd love to hear
disclosure.
Your opinion about that.
Yeah, that triggered that off because I guess everybody has an opinion on it, but the thing was, you know, there's breast cancer in my family. I think it's probably in most people's family. They'll know, well, cancer's in most people's family, but breast cancer was in my grandmother.
Oh, really?
My mother's mother had ovarian cancer and so forth. So, you know, I could sit back and say, well, okay, well, obviously I'm a candidate for that, but I have never taken that approach. It's never terrified me, because I look also at that time, and I look at those people's lives and what issues they had in the relationships they were having, and changing those patterns. And this is something we don't look at. Often the genetic side is the emotional belief system that is passed on and in families, and I see this all the time. I have the opportunity to meet many people every day in my work, and I get the opportunity to, if you like, experiment by probing people, asking them questions about if they had any stresses in their lives, what they feel about their relationships and so forth. And there is not one person who hasn't had an unresolved conflict within themselves, either with a male partner or in a relationship, or their father, or so forth. Marcus brought up the fact that because Angelina had not even talked to her father for a long time, so there's obviously deep emotional wounds there, and we don't know what's going on in her mind. But anyway, getting back to that, this has had to be my case. Yeah, the left breast in particular, this is to do with the feminine side, and I knew once this lump appeared, and I had been through a very stressful time beforehand, and that stress was, you know, evaluating relationships, ending a particular relationship, feeling a bit unsupported and so forth. Plus there was issues with my femininity, you know. We were going, you know, obviously in a transition time a lot with our relationships and feminine energy and power, and we weren't in the groove of it. I think women now are starting to go more into that. But anyway, at that time, I had a lot of issues. But the main thing was there was conflict in the relationship I had with my daughter. And even though, you know, every time we'd have interactions, a dynamic, there was some conflict there. And I'd obviously try and, in my mind, come to some sort of terms with it. But in doing that, I was actually suppressing the feelings that I was having by, you know, again, trying to neutralize it. Yeah, not actually feeling it at the time.
Suppressing the emotion is the beginning of something in the body, right?
Exactly. And you know, often we don't think we're suppressing it because we're taught that we can, you know, counsel, talk these things out, work it out. Working it out, talking about is not the same as feeling. Feelings have to be felt. If they're not felt, they're not discharged. And look, the best example of this is when we're born, we're equipped with this mechanism. We've been made like this. And we can see this in babies. Babies are just beautiful and happy, and every time they feel something, they express it instantly, and it passes from them just as quickly. So whether they're in pain or they're anger, they express it. And it's not until the parents start to say, "Don't cry, don't yell, stop them from having tantrum," and of course they get conditioned to push these things down, that we learn that it's not acceptable to express our feelings. So what happens is this mechanism that we have been gifted with as a way to express the feeling, and of course once it is expressed, what is replaced in that space is a wonderful feeling of clarity and wisdom that comes from that space that's been held. But of course we begin to suppress and we push things down, and then, you know, when life throws up all these unexpected challenges and so forth, we learn to numb our feelings by, you know, eating, entertaining ourselves, finding ways, anything that we don't have to be with the pain that we're feeling at the time. And what's happening at the moment, where we've got an enormous amount of people who are just feeling overwhelmed and unable to cope and process a lot of the feelings that people are having with the uncertainty of the times that we're going through at the moment. Right. And so we're using food, we're using entertainment, we're using anything to dull the loneliness, because again, you know, it's a lot more single people than ever before. Relationships are a lot more unstable, and so on, so on. But getting back to my own particular case with my daughter, I knew straight away after 15 months this breast lump became, you know, quite noticeable. It made itself known. And this is when I said before that your body is actually your ally. It's always relaying messages to us. And most of us just don't know how to interpret these messages because we've been taught to lock this process down. And when we feel contraction in our bodies or any uncomfortableness, it's an alert. It's alerting us to something's out of balance. We're not, we're not expressing a feeling, or there's a thought that we've got that's an error in as much as it's an assumption, or it's based on something that happened in the past, and we're using that now for the present to address the situation. So, if we start to connect really with ourselves, we'll see our body is always trying to help us. It's working in our best interest. And by sending us these messages, we can start to see, okay, something's going on here. What is it that I need to change? What is it that I need to be alerted to? Right. And then we see this as a great gift. And we become more empowered. When people like, as I said, Angelina Jolie, make these decisions to cut the parts of their body off, they're extremely disconnected. Very disconnected from themselves. And that can happen in various ways. Obviously from the types of food people are eating, whether it's a mixture of the Wi-Fi, the technology, who knows. It's obviously a multi, it's a faceted sort of situation. And but anyway, we do know that eating a raw vegan diet definitely puts you in a far better position. It aids your body to heal itself. So in saying that, with the breast lump, I was able to go to Melbourne and work with a person. I mean, obviously I was doing this for myself. It's not somebody else who helped me do this. They were just there facilitating. They were there, someone I could trust who could just let me just express what I need to express. And I wasn't sure what was going to come out. But by moving into this, by actually putting your hand onto this area and you're going, what's behind here? What is it here that's not being expressed? A lot of stuff with my daughter. There was a lot of anger, a lot of rage. I see. And I found this to be very much the case with so many women. So anyway, I just went for it, expressed it, and it was huge releases. And I saw this thing just disappear within 4 or 5 sessions of 3-4 hours. And I got to the point where there was this horrible puckering there, and I'd already had a breast lump several years ago, and I knew that it was emotional. It was caused by a lot of grief, but I was told they were cancerous and things at that time. So, the great thing is your body can heal itself. It disappeared from where it came back into nothing. I also modified my diet a little bit because I feel at middle age we do need to have certain foods that help our hormone levels. Yeah, so maybe you could talk a bit about more of that. But so that's where I want to help people.
One thing that really impresses me about your work is that you are addressing, I think, mainly women with your role model. And it's so cool because I think many women, well, I think almost all of you women are pursuing beauty all their lives. And I think it's something that's happening nowadays, that they are realizing, well, if I pursue health, I will achieve my goal of beauty as well, right? And what happens with Angelina is that she gives a bad message to women. I think it's a fear message. It's not something empowering, right? It's something like saying, well, you should prevent cancer by cutting parts of yourself. But as you were telling, it won't be enough because emotions and thoughts will be bombarding you, and maybe she can get a cancer other way, right?
So, to be honest with you, Louis, I've worked with a lot of people with breast cancer, and I talk to women, I ask them directly. Some women have said to me they've had lumps removed and they feel that's removed the cancer. That's all they need to do. But of course their doctors press them to have 30 or so rounds of chemotherapy. And I say to them, is this what you really want? And they'll say no. And I said, well, don't do it. you know, women have to learn to trust themselves, to go with what they really feel and not be pressured. So I asked her about a relationship because I guess in a way I've also got a gift to be able to read people's bodies. And, you know, like Marcus said, their bodies actually tells us what's going on. And if you learn, and this is another thing I want to teach people, how to read it, I could pick up straight away that there was a relationship that had really caused her a lot of trauma, and she had a lot of unresolved stuff around that, and she readily admitted it. In fact, often would bring tears to her eyes as soon as I brought it up. She knew what it was. So I said, look, I'd like you to, you know, get in the car, get in contact with where this lump is, start to feel it. It's part of you. And this is another issue that I have with the way that cancers and so forth are treated. It's treated like our bodies are against us, or that we've got this thing. It's, again, it is promoting disconnection. It's promoting separateness. That this isn't a part of us. It's not. It is even the language of battle and fighting and all that. It's the opposite of self-love. Yeah. So again, it's loving this part of us. It's getting in because it's honouring our body, trying to tell us something, which she did. She got in the car, went down, and released a lot of that. And honestly, she came back and saw me 3 weeks later. It was a different woman. She was brighter, lit up, and she felt within herself that this had been resolved now. So you give women options, you give them hope, you give them the truth that their bodies have been equipped to heal and repair themselves. We've not been told this truth. We've been told that we're victims, that we have to seek outside of ourselves for guidance and help in healing. And it's not the truth. And once people realize that this is an inbuilt thing, it's not just given to the select few, it's given to every single human being, this ability to heal and repair ourselves and rejuvenate ourselves no matter what. And if we give it the right food, if we give it, you know, the formula right, we can help facilitate the healing. And people are doing it all the time. This is all people need to hear. They want to have hope. They want to know that they can have some sort of control, if you like. I'm not necessarily even using the word control, but participation in their own healing. And that the fact that they're not a victim of circumstances and so forth. After this story with Angelina Jolie, and I'm sure this happened in other countries as well, a lot of programs like 60 Minutes and so forth posted stories of people who are doing the same thing, who are removing their breasts voluntarily in an attempt to because they feel like they're victims of this BRCA gene, but they have that victim mentality going on. And it does make me mad, and I'd love to be able to help a lot of women that. But in saying that, Louis, it doesn't, just because it's a breast. Now, it's interesting, if this lump had been on my leg, it wouldn't have had anywhere the amount of response or reaction. Right. People have this fear because it's a breast or whatever. The point is, it doesn't matter what's occurring in your body. It's the same process. Yeah. It still involves getting in touch with what is there, what is trying to tell you, it's opening up a whole new area. It's inviting people to come forth and share their story. A few people have contacted me in the raw food world, and they've said they've been inspired by my bravery, if you like, because they want to share also their stories. They've got some stories on their emotional journey with raw foods, and they've not been holding back a bit. It's sort of like I've given them the green light to do it, because I think what I feel too is at this time, Louis, there's a coming together, a unity in numbers, and this is where we get our strength and bravery from. And there is a calling that's occurring in many people to stand up and speak up more now. And right. And there's this incredible need. And you feel that there's this incredible need to unite with each other. People are reaching out before, like never before, and making connections. And in doing that, it's inspiring them to speak their truth, because this is what it comes down to. We need to speak our truth. If we don't speak our truth, we damage our soul, actually. And when we've got support, whether it be through the internet, our Facebook friends, or whatever, it encourages us to keep going. And it's a wonderful thing that's happening at the moment. And I say this too, I'm seeing this incredible wave of young people coming through who have this incredible warrior spirit. And they want to be activists in some way, and they want to make a difference. But they also get that eating a raw food diet, that it is normal and natural, and it's a thing to do. You don't have to explain anything with them. So we've got this amazing awakened young people coming through. And in saying that, a lot of us are wakening up to the veil gets lifted. I mean, that happens when you go on a raw food diet anyway. You know, as the brain starts to get cleansed of mucus and plaque, we start to think differently. It's almost like we set the dial to another frequency, and we get information coming through, and we lift the veil.
This leads me to a question to you. We are here talking about the emotional side of diseases and of problems in our lives. Let's say it this way. When we start on a raw food diet, the question would be this: are we compelled and maybe even pushed to deal with those emotions?
Well, I'm sure you being on that path too will have experienced that. It's something that occurs, and I explain this in my first book as well. As the brain starts to get cleansed of the plaque, I mean, like I say to people, if we just cut ourselves open, we're just a bunch of tubes and pipes, and they get blocked. And you know, again, it's easy to get disconnected when you see just all this, you know, veins and arteries and things. You think, oh, there's that part of me, but this is what actually occurs. So. Again, it's our brain. Our brain gets this sticky mucus and plaque too, and obviously that interferes with the nervous system, the way we think, the way we feel, and that's what happens. We get once these acid wastes and their acids start to get cleansed out of the cells, the body goes into full-on detox mode. You know, with that comes a lot of emotional feelings and comes up to the surface. And look, I've had people say to me that. Not only are they experiencing a physical transformation on the raw food journey, they start to question who they are, and they start to, you know, look at, what am I thinking and believing? Does that fit me anymore? It doesn't fit me. In other words, this path allows us to step into our full potential. It allows us to make braver choices in life. We become who we're meant to be. And look, there's no question, Louis, there's no other eating regime on this planet that delivers the results of a raw food lifestyle. There's no question about it, if it's done in the balanced way. What many people have said to me, and I've expressed to people that I eat more fruit now. I definitely don't do, you know, what is it, bananas a day or whatever, but I eat fat because I believe that for a woman, well, not believe, but it's my experience, that you need to have your hormones change when you get older. It's very different, the raw food lifestyle, when you're younger, as opposed to you make tweaking and adjustments when you become older. This just occurs. It's like with puberty and menopause, there are physiological changes that do take place that are part of us in our humanness, if you like. Right. But in saying that, it is a gradual evolution, and this is what I've also mentioned in you know, blogs on other people's blogs, that it is something that will occur naturally. Your body will begin to want more fruit. It just happens. Even though I've got a couple of books out, and the first book was in 2004 with a lot of gourmet recipes, I'm not inclined to eat those now. I don't even eat nuts. But in saying that, I don't restrict. I don't, you know, get into where I'm weighing up, you know, or not weighing or counting calories now, because I don't think that's necessary. I think, you know, once your intuition starts to lead the way, you eat more in tune with that, and it becomes very easy and natural, and most of your energy is directed into doing and fulfilling your creative pursuits and what you're here to contribute, basically. And so, you know, eating doesn't take up that much of your focus, if you like. It just yeah, falls into place. But definitely, in answer to your question, yes, there is definitely a change that occurs, you know, in the emotional department anyway. But in saying that, there still can be some very long, deep-held belief systems, and I feel now on one level that these are the so-called genetic things that are passed on, or deep patterns, and this is where we've got the opportunity to stop that. Like as you say, when there's generations of cancer or so forth in families, there are deep belief systems, or put this way, patterns of thinking that we inherit, that we attract those same situations to us as the generation before in our mothers and whatever, and we can stop that. I mean, when I've looked into my grandmother's history and so forth, and her relationships with men and so forth, I can see that there's some similarities that I had. Do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean.
This is what you know where I'm going with this. So we have the opportunity to change that, and we're in a very exciting time at the moment because, you know, there's so much more information and so much available to us to be able to do that. Of course, in those generations, they weren't even thinking of self-development or looking at themselves in that way. So, yeah, I firmly believe that, you know, just because something is in your family, it doesn't mean that, you know, this is going to be your life and at all.
And
so
that you have to cut an arm
push
because you would have the gene to have cancer in your arm, right?
Exactly.
It's
And I mean,
incredible.
that's right. Just the other
It's
thing with the
crazy.
book too, I mean, I've written in this book too, obviously, the principles, you know, again, when sleep is important, you know, that's another thing too that, I mean, as I said, the most people I see every day, the three things that are really impacting on people's lives now is lack of sleep, anxiety is huge because people just are not coping, and I'm talking young people. I'm seeing young people too who have got vitamin B12 deficiencies, and they're meat eaters. So there's something, you know, there's lots of things that I'm going on. I'm very lucky to be exposed to see sometimes 50, 60 people a day
By the way,
that
tell us something about your future blog and future plans
okay,
and so on,
all
please.
right.
I'd
Well,
love to hear it.
I'll be launching a new a website at the end of the month, Passionate Fruitful Living, and I guess what I'm going to be doing is coaching people, not only coaching one-on-one, but also offering some programs where, yeah, people are going to be able to this is what I do. I awaken, I inspire people, I educate. My focus is education, and I'm very blessed to have a lot of knowledge that I've accrued over the years that I want to share and pass on with people. I'm at an age now where that's just what I want to do. And from my experiences only, I think there's a lot of information out there that people are, you know, are dispensing right, left, and centre without the experience behind it, because that's where wisdom comes in. And
That's
unless
right.
we've experienced it, we have to have that personal experience. So nothing I teach is not from personal experience and the people I've taught. So that is one area. And, of course, relationships. The relationship with ourselves, most importantly. I feel that the next step in our evolution is self-love. Marcus, you know, to me is on a very similar page, and about, you know, it's about self-love. Self-love, I mean, we've all heard that before, but it's only recently that I really brought this into my life, particularly since I was able to make this lump disappear, because it's enabled me to really shower myself with love. It's as simple as choosing to focus on a pleasurable event, a pleasurable memory, and bring that pleasure into your body. And we can experiment and see this in action. And if we do that, we can feel the actual joy in our bodies. And then we can then go and think of a stressful thing, and what happens? We start to feel contracted and anxious, and we sort of hunch over and all that. So, you know, we can just prove these things to ourselves just by shifting our focus. So the discipline is in choosing to focus on things that bring us pleasurable feelings into our bodies, circulating that, because the cells don't know the difference. They don't know whether, if you're thinking of the great night you had with your new lover a week ago, whether that's happening now, but you can bring that feeling into your body and your cells will respond as if it is. And how they respond is they'll spark, and they'll start to receive nutrients in, and they'll work better by removing wastes, and basically they can make you younger and make you more healthier. So this is a practice we need to get into, because by doing that, just as we learn to tie our laces, or any skill in life, it has to become repetition. And this is how we're going to take ourselves into the next level. And what will happen is that voice of self-doubt, the voice that comes in and sabotages us and sabotages our intuition, our knowing, starts to become fainter and fainter and goes into the background, because
I
it
see
knows
what you
as soon as
mean.
it comes in, you're changing it to another belief, another thought that is more pleasurable. And this is what I want to teach people. I want to teach people how to read their bodies, how to connect fully with themselves again, and just see themselves flowering. Because look, the point is, most of us have been on a spiritual journey, if you like, a self-discovery, a self-improvement journey, and we know the knowledge, but now we need to ground it into ourselves in practical ways. And I want to show people how to do this in a practical way not some esoteric fancy stuff that people say, oh, okay, well, I just know that, so therefore it should be working in my life. But knowledge is not the same as implementing it on a day-to-day level. So this is where I want to go with that. And as I said, with the relationship side, getting people to connect more with themselves first, and then the relationships with everybody else is going to improve. Yeah, so it's going to expand, and it's going to go as basically as how I feel. But obviously, with the dietary side, I want to offer my 14 years of experience of being raw vegan, the obstacles that I've come across, how I've overcome them, how this gradual transition goes towards more fruit, how to balance it, and it's not rocket science. It doesn't have to be something that if people get the fundamentals.
By the way, what would be your first advice to someone who would be thinking about being a raw vegan?
Well, thinking about it, okay.
Yeah.
They're getting a calling. They're getting the wake-up call.
They are raw vegan curious. You see?
They're getting the wake-up call. The main thing is they have to first understand that they're living in a body that is extremely intelligent. It has this amazing mechanism to heal itself. And initially when people first are getting this calling, they're seeking people advice, this. Again, it's falling into the same trap of looking outside of yourself. This is a journey of self-discovery. It's a journey of reconnecting with you. So the first thing is to start to apply time with yourself, connecting with yourself. And first thing, of course, depending on what sort of diet you're on at the moment, is to take out the processed things in a box, a packet and thing, and start to bring in more fresh fruit and vegetables. It's simple. Nothing else. You just start to eat more fresh. People say to me, what do I have to do? What do I have to do? I mean, I posted something the other day was, the majority of people I see, unfortunately this is another myth that we really need to bust, is this protein myth where people will come in to me and say, I need protein. I said, really? Why? I need to lose weight, or I need more energy, and I've got digestive problems. And they're brainwashed into thinking that there's this miracle in a protein shake that is going to transform them. So I have to gently let them down and say that's not the case. It's simple as just walking over to the fruit shop to where I work from and say, just go and buy some more fruit. But, I posted something yesterday. There's this enormous fear that people have. And I see this with young mothers, that we've been peddled this terrible myth that fruit is bad. And it's just astounding. And this is, I think, where we have to start and help each other and get back to basics. And,
it's really crazy that people think that cooked food is natural and fruit isn't. It's crazy.
Well, it's part of the marketing, Louis. It's a part of the society we live in that peddles this diet industry, which is ineffective and in the long term. And it's based on these protein shakes and bars and things, and it's just a path to absolute misery for people because they will never get the figure that they deserve and that their body is capable of having. They'll never have that experience, that endless energy and that glow. People, the first thing people say to me is, "You have amazing skin." They can't believe the age I am, of course, and the figure and the fact that I've got a waistline.
Skin. I can tell you.
When I go for a walk in the shopping centre, the first thing people do, I notice people look at my waistline. They never see a woman my age with a waist. And I've got a fantastic figure because you just don't see it. Unfortunately in Australia, every second person is overweight now. It's sad to see. America and Australia, we're really one of the highest, obesity levels, and we're seeing it in young people. So I'm almost a bit of an oddity, and it's strange because people look at you. But and I just tell them it's effortless. Obviously, getting back to where the people start, and often where people start, and they're seeing that this is going to be, oh my goodness, I'm so far away from where I'd like to be. Again, it's just a step by step. It's just taking it where you are now. What can I do today? Can I eat more fruit? Can I take out, and instead of having something out of a box or can, go and get some fresh fruit? And it's a process that's going to go along like that. And and the awakening will start to, you know, take care of itself. The people need to be consistent, and that's another thing that's, you know, that we have to, I guess, overcome, is this need to have everything straight away happen, because we're in a society where everything's quick, fast. We want it. People will come in and say to me, I want a detox in 2 days. And I say, do you really know what detox is? And I say, well, you need this for your liver. And they look at me as if liver and kidneys, what's that got to do with detox? You know, people have no idea. They're just not educated about their bodies. I can talk about this for ages, but I really feel education is the #1 thing. People need to be educated. If people could be taught about their bodies and how they function as mandatory in school, it would be empowering.
Getting back to your amazing look, you know, it's, I think I'm talking to a woman with 27 years old. You see, 30 years younger than you are now. Well. Compare the question now, and this is my closing question here. I will ask you to give me one sentence answer. Comparing the person you were before being a raw vegan and the person you are now, or maybe the person you would have become if you weren't a raw vegan, right?
Yes.
The question is, what is your raw vegan power? Raw vegan power. Because I would say that you are like a superhero, heroine in this case, in the sense, in the health sense, you know, because you achieved something that most women and even men don't achieve. And what would you say to answer this question in one sentence?
Ooh.
You could begin. My raw vegan power is, and then you complete
my
the
raw
sentence.
vegan power is my real inner beauty that is shining now from the inside out. I'm having a love affair with myself, really. That is really where I'm at, and that's where it needs to happen to everybody.
You need to
immerse yourself fully in loving ourselves, and I generate this feeling of love and just let it wash through my body, and it cannot help but spill outwards. And that's what you're seeing. That's what you're seeing. So if we all did this...
That's what I'm seeing, right? Yeah, I know what you mean. Seeing,
that's what's
feeling.
Happened. That's what's
because
happened.
you are so inspiring. You are, you know, I'm energized by talking to you now, and I can imagine people who meet you in person in Australia or wherever you go, and really have the opportunity to talk to you in person, you know, because it's fantastic.
Louis, I'm no one special. Everyone has the ability to do the same, and I'm not elevating myself, because, you know, people need to know that they have this within themselves,
right?
And everyone has this
superheroes as well, right? They can be superheroes as well. Like
it would be wonderful to see everyone shining. The thing with the raw vegan lifestyle, it allows you to be yourself. I love seeing, and this is nothing to, there's more people becoming compassionate and towards animals in particular, and I think that's going to be another driving force. But the more, what you're doing is fabulous. I love what's happening. There's this wave that we're riding. We're going to see more and more people post just these amazing transformations. Like I said earlier, there is nothing that will deliver what this lifestyle delivers. Nothing can make you look this way. Nothing else can make you feel this way. There's nothing that comes close. We've not seen it. There's nothing been, you know, there's no evidence of it. So this is what is changing people, because they're seeing this over the long term. And people like myself have been doing this for a long time. All I can say to them is keep going, because it gets better.
Thanks so much for coming here, Katya. You are an inspiring woman and gorgeous, and it's so fantastic to talk to you. And Well, this is the first time we meet. We should keep in touch and, you know,
We will.
join
We
our
will.
forces to change the
I'd
world.
love. Absolutely, absolutely, and you're doing a fantastic work.
Thank you
And
so much,
um,
Katya. Thank you. I
you
really
found your
appreciate it.
niche, and you know, Louis, it really is. This is the key to it. Everyone, if they could find what they have to contribute, there would be no competition, because
That's
what
right.
everyone is doing is unique. No one else can offer what in a package what you offer, and there are so many people in this world that we need to help, and there's just so many of us that are needed, and it's like a domino effect. And I think it's wonderful what you're doing, and feel very honoured
Thank
for
you
you
so
to
much.
invite me here. And
We need
I hope I've
to.
been able to inspire and
Me
maybe
too.
shed some light on my journey. As I said, this is a topic that we could talk about for so long. There's so many. It's like a tree with all these roots that go off in all directions. There's so many, offshoots to it, and it's just wonderful. So, thank you very much again. And
Thank you,
I just hope I've
Katya.
been able to help people. Yeah,
You
that's
are helping so many people, and I feel really glad and honored to have you here today. And you who are watching, well, go now to rejuvenate.com.au, okay? And
say
you
you.
only for this month, because later on
Only just this month.
only on that site, Katya will
Yes,
tell you
I
where
had
to go. And
to
what's the name? Passionate,
passionate, fruitful living. Now, if they go to my Facebook page,
passionate,
Rejuvenate with
fruitful
Katya,
living.
I'll be posting quite a lot of articles. I mean, I love to share my information with some people. I'm not a person who gives you half of something and says, well, you need to, pay me such and such. I'm not a person like that. This is where I'm not a businesswoman, really, in the sense that I want to share and give as much knowledge, because it should be free. It's everyone's birthright to know what they can do and help how they can help themselves. So there's lots of articles I love to write. So if they go to my Facebook page, also I'll give you updates as to when it's going to be launched, and it's going to be fabulous. And I'm looking forward to really helping reconnect people with, who they are, their pleasurable, fun, sensual, wonderful self, and to really enjoy the benefits of a raw vegan lifestyle, and see how easy and simple it is, and fun. And it's not complicated. It's not something that it has to have complicated and have a lot of analysing of it, and we don't need to know all this. It's very simple, and that's how it needs to be.
Thank you so much, Katya. Well, you who are
You're
watching,
welcome.
go now there, rejuvenate.com.au, and take a look at the Rejuvenate for Life Principles book by Katya Arbsoff. Okay, go there now. Bye bye. See you.